Hello, fifth graders. We are continuing with our writing and interpreting expressions. So this would be part of the interpreting because we're looking at it. We're trying to figure out what does this mean. So this is very similar to what we did last time in fluency. So it starts with 20 times 3, and they're saying do that first. We are adding, and then you have to do 5 times 3. So solve for the parentheses and then add them. So what I want us to do is what I'm seeing is there's an addition problem. And on both sides of the addition problem, there is a multiplication. So this is what we're adding to this. So I know that in this problem, I need to find the sum of these two numbers. So let's start with there. We want to find the sum of blank and blank. That's what we're doing. Let's fill in those blanks. There's a couple ways we could write this. One way, I could say I have 20 threes. 20 threes. Can you think of any other ways you could write this? 20 threes, or how about 3 20s? Either of those would work. In fact, you could even write for multiplication the word that means to multiply, or the answer to a multiplication question is product. So you could even write, oops, the product of 20 and 3. I mean, personally, 23s, 23s. That I think is the simplest way. So we're finding the sum of 23s and what's the other thing we're adding? How about 5 threes? 5 threes. And again, you could flip-flop that. You could say 3 5s. Or if you want to get very fancy, again, you could say the product. So the answer to 5 times 3, or 5 and 3. Any of these work, but I think the simplest version is the sum of 23s and 5 threes. Let's do another one. So here's your second problem. What do you notice is different about this problem than in the first one? I'll even show you that first one there. Do you notice anything different? How about this symbol here? What was that word we use to mean subtraction? That would be the difference. So again, I know I'm subtracting blank and blank. Here are my blanks. We are subtracting this and this. So if I was to start writing this, say this is the difference between blank and blank. How could we fill in these blanks? So the first thing we are subtracting, 2 times 8. How could we say that? How about 2 8s? What about on the other side? The difference between 2 8s and 2 3s. The difference between 2 8s and 2 3s. There we go. So you only have one question to practice today, but in fact, I'm actually going to have you solve it also. So let's use these two problems as our examples for how to solve. So I'm going to rewrite. Here's our first problem. It was 20 times 3 plus 5 times 3. And the second problem we did was 2 times 8 minus 2 times 3. There we go. Okay, so we talked before, parentheses mean do this first. So on this first one, let's solve this first parenthesis. What would 20 times 3 be? 20, 40, 60. Okay, what about this parenthesis? 5 times 3 is 15. Now we need to add those two answers. 60 plus 15 would be 75. 75. Okay, I want you to try and solve this one first. So pause if you need time. Make sure you solve the parentheses before you do any subtraction. Okay, have you finished solving? So in that first parenthesis, 2 times 8 would be 16. 2 times 3 would be 6. So now that I have my two answers, I can subtract. What is 16 minus 6? That would be 10. The answer to that expression is 10. That wasn't too bad, right? So here is the question I want you to practice with. It is 2D on our lesson 3 problem set, which is on page 136. So our lesson 3 problem set, if you don't have it, that's okay. Still write it, but you can do it on a piece of paper or on your whiteboard. So you're writing 2D in words, just like we did on these practice pages here. And then I want you to solve. So here it is. In the first parenthesis is 30 times 2. Then we're adding the second parenthesis, which is 8 times 2. All right, pause, and when you're ready to check your work, come on back. All right, so again, here's what I'm seeing is overall this is an addition problem. The two sides I'm going to be adding are the multiplication. So I'm going to say the sum of blank and blank. What are the two things I'm adding? 30 times 2. I could write this so many different ways, but I think the easiest way is 30 2's, just like that. You could also write 2 30's. You could say the product of 30 and 2. You could say 30 times 2. Any of those would work. So the sum of 30 2's. And what's the other thing we're adding to that? I'm going to say 8 2's. Again, you could say 2 8's. You could say the product of 8 and 2. You could say 8 times 2. Any of those would work. Okay, now we just need to solve. So here's what I'm going to do. 30 times 2, that would be 60. 8 times 2, that would be 16. So 60 plus 16 would be 76. All right, there we go. So you have an exit ticket today where you're going to be given an expression like this, and I want you to type it out in words. What would that look like? And then also solve for the value of the expression, just like we did here. All right, good job today. Bye.